Yeah, so while India has been growing very fast, but investors cannot avoid global investment as well, considering the opportunities there. In fact, Saurabh has also mentioned about the remittance. In fact, if we look at the 10-year data, so remittance from India, that is the money that goes out of India, has increased by 25x, which is a huge number, right? So yeah, so there is clearly there has been a lot of traction in the global funds, global investment, and thanks to Gift City, thanks to Pradeep for making it very easier and simpler for investors. But also global investing comes with a lot of challenges that the lady has highlighted, that the compliance issue, taxation issue, KYC issue. So we'll discuss all this at this panel. So I'll start with someone who has a cute name, Sonu. Yeah. So Sonu, so you know that India is the fastest growing economy in the world, right? And in dollar terms, India has outperformed all other markets in the last 10 years. So why not support the Modi ji and make in India, and why go outside? What is your view?
I mean, that's a very interesting question actually, considering that, as an economy, we have grown by leaps and bounds. Our markets are burgeoning while, all other markets are struggling. Not only that, we have been over the past few years focusing on Gift City as a core financial hub instead of, looking outside the country. So it looks like we are firing on all engines. But there is one aspect, I would not see it as Indians. I would not want to compare Indian market with global markets as competitors. Rather, I would look it as a complementing part of your portfolio, because we may be growing, but we are not growing in all the sectors. For example, AI. So AI is not something that we have expertise within India. We do not have listed companies in India which are into AI. But then again, how do I complement this? I explore the global markets. Then we have biotechnology, we have robotics. I look at the Japanese market to see what is the emerging trends. I look at the Chinese market on what new technological developments are happening. So it's not about, not supporting Modi ji, but rather I would look at as a piece that, my core portfolio stays in India, but I also complement it with the new and emerging, industries that are coming up.
Great response. Akash, coming to you. So Indian investors have a lot of option. So also highlighted Vested CEO that there are global ETFs, mutual fund route, ETFs, and AIF and Gift City funds. So which is the ideal option to invest, and what's the reason for this?
Thanks, Nishan, for inviting to the panel, and thank you to Gift City and Cafe Mutual for arranging this event today. So that's a very good question, Nishan. So today, compared to a decade back, when we did not have any options at all, right? To invest globally. Now, today at least we have we have multiple options. So we have stocks, we have ETFs. So depending on where the investor is when they are starting the journey, if they are just getting started with global investing, there are simple ETFs for S&P 500 and for Nasdaq. So S&P 500 is SPY, and for Nasdaq there's something called QQQ. Where investors could simply get exposure, right? Passive exposure to US markets. Or if, the investors are a bit more advanced in their journey, they want to get more exposures beyond just the passive markets, then there are also thematic ETFs, there are semiconductor ETFs, there are AI related ETFs. And then even so in today's global markets, we have access to different sort of these asset classes, which could be, which could cater to multiple different types of investors depending on their need, right? So even for HNIs, there's something like private markets that we have launched recently, where we have Perplexity, SpaceX, these launches we have done. So that has got a lot of interest from HNI's side, right? Who are already well aware of the markets and now looking to, like how there are private markets in India as well, right? And so similarly, they're looking for global opportunities too. So in short, yeah, there are opportunities for depending on what the investor is looking for. There are lots of these different opportunities now.
Vijay, what's your take on this?
Yeah, good day, and thank you so much for having me here. So I come with an exchange perspective, right, from IFSC. So I'll actually tell you in the sense that, to the question, like, what is the opportunity today that's available at IFSC, with also the gap circular that's come up in August 2025, which has actually made the entire process of global investing much more structured. Earlier, global investing used to happen. So if somebody used to ask me, can I invest globally? I used to always tell them that, FANGs hai, ETF hai, isme kar dena. I never had this idea. If you would ask me 2 years back, how do I really invest in global stocks, right? But having been part of IFSC now for, possibly I'm completing 1 year today, December 12th, yeah. I've been there. It's quite a coincidence. So it's been 1 year for me there, and we've been very closely working with the regulator there, and as Pradeep really mentioned that he's received much more attention, accolades for in the last 2 years than 22 years being at SEBI. I think so. The proof is in the pudding that we eat, right? Because there's been a significant amount of work that's been done there as a regulator by understanding the ecosystem, right? So what has really happened is there's been a proper blend that's happened with being retaining our core of an Indian risk management system, wherein we say that investor first, right? Plus saying that how do I really compete with the global participants? So I think so there's been an appropriate blend with the regulator has really thought through, and it's been a lot more consulting, right? They have not actually put out something and said that this is what you need to follow, right? They have actually involved each and every participant. So I think so that's a lot of credit to that. So extending that, what has come out as a regulation, we as an exchange, so India Annex is a subsidiary of the Bombay Stock Exchange, BSE. And within India Annex as an exchange, we have a 100% subsidiary of ours, which is called as INX GA, which is India Annex GA, which is global access. And today we are a global access provider under the IFSCA's new regulatory framework. So we have the GAP license. So what do we bring across to the table, right? One is product access, right? We give access to the to various products which are there, be it global stocks. We have got tie-up with various global brokers, Interactive being one of the first, and still we continue to have a very strong relationship with them. We partnered with various others. And we really provide not only the global stock across 150 exchanges, but now from a regulatory perspective, the subsidiary of an exchange who is a GAP, only they are allowed to provide unlisted products, right? So that's also going to come. So when I say unlisted products, mutual funds and other things can be only offered through an subsidiary of an exchange who is a GAP provider, right? So that's what the regulation really puts out and very clearly states. So that's something that we are working on. We working, and the best part is clients, will be able to trade on global products, and it will be very similar to within the, Indian tax framework, and their units will be held in their own demat accounts at GIFT. So we are also planning a lot of, ETFs with a lot of global asset managers to come on the exchange itself. Second is, from a regulatory and an operational enablement. So the AML, KYC and everything, now the rules are very well defined, right? So we are well positioned today to really, onboard clients in a very easy manner. So we have our own mobile application. We have a lot more other things with which, the end clients have got multiple options today to come through. That of course, as really Viram put it some time back, saying that, what is that they offer, right? So all encompassing is what we as an exchange subsidiary offer, right? And being a highly regulated entity and an MII and a subsidiary of MII, it's a lot more ease and regulatorily driven that we are providing today. So in a nutshell, global access or investing globally has become much more easier. It's become, I would say, during COVID, the access to the Indian capital markets increased significantly because everything was at the fingertip. People used to sit at home and, do the trading. So it's become very similar for global investing as well. There are multiple options, multiple avenues with which people can look at. And I very strongly believe, apart from the, AIF and the mutual fund route that can really go out, I guess GAP is also a very, very good medium to which, people could really look at.
Yeah, thanks for explaining it so beautifully, Vijay. So Shrikant, coming to you. So where does global products fit into clients' portfolio? And how can MFDs actually and wealth managers actually do risk profiling and product suitability of global products?
So it's like when you go and have only dal roti, you may not really like it, right? So if it is a biryani, if it is a complete, say, buffet, you will have dal roti also. And chahiye to ek bar dal roti chhod ke you will have something, gobi manchuri, all those things, right? So it is like that. So, but any biryani that you have, you should have the right amount of salt. Too much and too less will spoil not just the biryani, the entire food that you have got. So the diversification should be there, but it is not for the namesake. The diversification should be at the right asset, at the right point, and then the right percentage. So that's why we at Srikavi, when we take the clients for international investments or Gift City or wherever, we make sure that they understand that there is a risk appetite involved. This is not just the stock movement ka risk nahi, even the currency movement. Even Trump ko kuch lag gaya, anything can happen. So are you aware of that? Will you be able to sleep through that? That's number one. And number two, if they are investing just because they have seen a YouTube and getting excited, we tell them, nahi, ek baar dekh lo, will it fit your portfolio? Then we will get it. So where it fits in only if it is required for him, for his goals. If it doesn't fit in, it should not. Just because it is exciting, everyone is talking. No, it's not the one that should go out. So unka goal dekhna hai, risk appetite dekhna hai, time frame dekhna hai, then we give the asset selection. It's always very clear. Does your client need it? Then give it. Otherwise, just keep away from it.
Okay. So great answer, Shrikant. So let's make it more interesting. So we'll do a role play. I'll be investor and I'll be asking tough questions that investors ask, and you all will act as an advisor. So I'll start with Akash. Akash, I've heard about currency risk and complicated taxation when you invest in global products. So should I really worry about it?
A bit, not so much as a worry, but more, I think, understanding how it works will reduce a lot of those worries and anxieties. But I would ask that what is a bigger risk, right? So either just stay invested in INR or have a portfolio which sort of has these multiple currencies and which, so that at least your currency risk is hedged, right? So today the 100% of the portfolio is in INR. And something happens to INR, then your entire portfolio goes down, right? So, so from that standpoint, taxation, I think taxation is more, I think it's a beast till you understand it, but it's simple really, right? So, just very much similar to Indian equities, there also we have long-term capital gains and short-term capital gains and dividends. There are mainly these three things only. Less than 2 years is short-term capital gains, which is taxed as per your income tax slab, and the long-term capital gains are more than 2 years, and those are taxed as per the revised slabs of 12.5%. Right. So that being said, the other aspect of it is not just INR depreciation, but also that there are some themes which are only available globally, right? So, example, if you look at where the innovation is happening in AI, right? So, where are the top companies? The top companies, which are all the M7s, are right now pouring billions into AI infrastructure and building AI products. And if anyone wants to tap into that growth, then those companies are only listed outside, right? So similar to that, there is biotech, and there's some specific industries where unfortunately global is doing better, right? So there's semiconductors, which is the other one.
Okay. One follow-up question, Akash. So what about PFIC? Tax on notional gains. So will it eat into my returns?
Tax on notional, so the tax is like the 12.5% is taxed on the, like if the holdings are more than 2 years, then it will be taxed at the 12.5 only. There's no other notional taxation apart from it.
Got it. Thank you. Sonu, so I have also heard that there are a lot of hidden fees when you invest in global products, like transaction fee, forex fee, and GST, and some country-specific fee as well. So does it make any economic sense for me if I go global?
I mean, in terms of investment landscape and the fees that are charged, I think globally it is very minimal. Similar to how in India we have very minimal fees. Almost all the global markets have, either gone to zero brokerage or at a very discounted brokerage pricing. So I don't think the minimal cost will impact. But I think if you have a long-term horizon, these are just going to be minuscule transaction cost.
Okay. So it makes a lot of sense even if
Yes, ideally it makes a lot of sense because these fees, when converted even into dollars, would not be material. So, I mean, using platforms which cater to Indian users, the fees are very reasonable, I would say.
Great. So Shrikant, coming to you. So what about products we don't get easily in India, like inverse ETF, maybe blockchain ETF, or maybe AI specific stocks? So do you think that it makes sense to invest in them, or it is just a gimmick?
So it's like, say, suddenly some Momo, when it came first time. So Momo was very famous Far East, right? So when it came to Bangalore, suddenly people were, "Okay, is it something which we can digest, South Indians?" So when we know that we can digest, you can see in every road there are Momos, and now there is a company coming out with a public issue also. Wow, Momo is coming out. So and there are something like, say, pizza. Pizza is something when you see in the during the COVID time, pizza was being eaten left, right, and center. Then what happened? If it's a biryani, you can eat every day, but pizza you can eat one day, then maybe you cannot take for 4-5 days. Continuously nahi hota hai. So you need to understand the excitement of new product will be always there. Last year it was on EV, uske before defense tha, now it is AI. Next year it may be something, a moon colonizing ETF. An ETF which will colonize the moon. You come invest here, I will give you land. So the flavor, the excitement, YouTube will always give you, Instagram will give you all kinds of flavor. But will it sustain? Will it give you the return? Will it continue? First of all, we don't know कि AI रहेगा नहीं रहेगा. And especially yesterday I was watching the India cricket match. So one advertisement was about Gemini. Oh, how Gemini can help. And immediately following that was a advertisement by Avada. It's a green energy. It was showing if you use AI, even the power failure will not be there. You will not be able to switch on your own home. So look at the completely different scenarios. And what Akash told about the taxation, I wanted to tell always to the MFDs and investors, you always look at के हाथ में कितना मिलता है. You always look at the net return. Don't look at the gross return. Gross return may be whatever. So why so many people buy insurance? Why people are mad about insurance? Because हाथ में वो taxation नहीं है. Why people sometimes go for the KIF category 3? Because हाथ में taxation नहीं है. So you look at the ultimate in and returns. So that's about the taxation. So when you come to these crypto ETFs, the amazing, glorified, like we had one fund called Brazil Fund. It was an exotic product. It was sold like anything. And for 10 years, for nearly 8 years, the NAV did not cross 10 rupees. The NAV did not. So in that excitement when you are doing, you are an advisor. You should be grounded. Investors is bound to be excited. Let him be. And I will be happy if my investor is excited and I can show him ground levels and can show him कि इतना return आएगा, चुपचाप बैठे रहो and don't dance to the tunes. वहाँ सुने, listen to Avinash Sate but don't follow him.
Great. So Vijay, so I have a different googly for you. So for you, I am a wealth manager now. So and my business is doing well with Indian markets. So why should I look at global opportunities and what benefits do I have in distributing global products to investors?
Very good question. I will just put it in a different way, right? Or possibly answer this a little differently. So I'm doing really well in one particular segment. And we are humans. We never get satisfied. There's always an opportunity. We want to grow. We want to expand, right? And this is a time. This is a correct time for you to really do that. Because I think so there have been quite a lot of reports in the newspapers that the LRS amount has increased by 50% and, so on and so forth. So Indians are looking to diversify. I think so in the morning, I don't remember, I think Saurabh gave a very good reference saying that, the Indian domestic indices versus the S&P 500, right? Last year, if I'm not wrong, Sensex gave about 11.5-12% return and S&P 500 touched about more than 20% return. let me take into account the remittances, the forex risk, roughly thumb rule 3.5%, or conservatively pakad lo 4%, right? So 12%, 20%, still I remove 4%, 16%. Still I'm making about 5 to 6% more. Right? That's the alpha I'm making. So people are looking to diversify. They want to really diversify. They want to see, how do I really, diversify from an INR versus a USD? How do I really exploit the various markets which are doing well? So here is an opportunity for somebody to do. And here for wealth managers, it provides them a very good opportunity and a platform to really say that, okay guys, I'm not only giving you the Indian products, now I'm going you and offering the global products. So at the comfort of your home, right, just with a click of a button, you will do India, you can do global, you can access, you can understand where the markets are, what is it. So actually what I'm right now doing is I'm giving him a holistic view of global portfolio. Right, what I can do, what I cannot do, what I want to do. Of course, there is always, a caution that somebody needs to exercise before they really want to put in their money where it is, because they really need to understand that market. Right, it cannot be a FOMO. Right, कि अरे उसने भी डाला, मैंने भी डाला, उसको ज़्यादा % मिल गया, मेरे को नहीं मिला, मैं भी करता हूँ. But then you really need to understand whether you really are aware of what that market is. Of course, through the GAP, there are multiple routes that you can do. You have got mutual funds, and also from an index perspective, we are looking to get global ETFs there. So that's another avenue with which you can go and not really directly expose yourself to the stock market risks and other things. So you can definitely go through the through that entire thing, right? So in a nutshell, if I were to summarize, the world is getting shorter, smaller, right? Where the global portfolios are coming together, and it's a lot more avenues for the wealth managers to really take advantage of this and offer that. Just to add a point, we are also planning, as I said, we were the exchange subsidiary only one to offer the unlisted products like mutual funds through the gift. So we are also working on some things like the domestic star MF platform, wherein we are trying to get a lot of these global asset managers and offer the mutual funds of that as well. So that's also something that we were planning to do. That again, an opportunity for the MFDs and the wealth managers to get connected through the GA route and offer them to that to their end India clients. So that's also something that is there on the anvil.
Great. So Akash, coming back to you. So with thousands of ETFs and global products available there, how can wealth manager actually evaluate the quality of these products? What are the factors that they should keep in mind?
That's a good question. So so at Vested, we are trying to do a lot of content. We publish something called weekly market updates as well. It goes out by the name Shorts, where we update what's happening in the markets. Plus, we do a lot of content around the different types of instruments and asset classes, which can follow. Do check it out on our website. But other than that, I think one, it's what advisors can do is look, for example, if it's ETFs, right? Let me go by examples. If it's ETF, then can look at whether it's an index versus an actively managed index, and then the fundamentals are really the very same as what an advisor would do in Indian markets, but the same will go there as well. So you could look at whether it's an index or an active ETF. You could look at tracking error, expense ratio, and in case of active funds, let's say there are some actively managed funds which you're looking at to invest in. You could look at who the asset manager is. That plays a very large role. You could look at expense ratio and also sort of which, it's all, I think, and it also falls down to what the wealth advisor beliefs are, or the customer's beliefs are, whether a particular industry might or might not go forward, right? So like Shikhanji was saying around AI and crypto, not everyone would believe in that direction. So there is we could so one is that, then the other is the liquidity and the AUM of the asset manager and the expense ratio and those things, right? So one could evaluate that way.
Okay. You also train distributors through your platform, Vested?
Yes, that's correct. We do webinars, and we do walkthroughs, and we one-on-one onboarding as well, through which we guide distributors, RIAs, wealth managers on global investments. We give them a walkthrough of the platform as well, and the different asset classes that we have. We don't do any recommendations, but we try to make sure that they have all the tools needed.
Great. So Sonu, so people generally equate global investing with US investing, right? So, but there's whole world beyond US. So how should one decide country-specific or region-specific allocation, and what macro and micro factors that influence those decisions?
I mean, I would say when an advisor is making a decision on, which geography to allocate a particular portion of a client's portfolio to, it really depends on how large the portfolio is and how large a team the distributor has. Because honestly, it's really difficult just to track the Indian markets. I mean, I'm sure all of them already know that. Adding multiple markets will just complicate the entire process, and you will lose track of things. So either you should be sector focused, laser sharp on what the next 5 years, next 10 years are going to be. Find geographies which have companies in these emerging industries, get allocation there, or just target one geography, specialize in it, build partnerships with other mutual fund distributors who have expertise in multiple geographies. So someone with a team size of 5 may not cater to more than 2-3 geographies, but someone with a team size of 50 can cater to more than 10 geographies. So always building capacity should be the first objective, because your research, your advice depends on your team's ability to understand those markets, identify opportunity, and then advise your client. So I think these factors will play a key role in determining which geography you allocate to. Most of the time we always default to US because it's the easiest one we have access to. We have seen it for decades that, this is where companies are built, this is where companies are grown. But then again, it's a small world. We have companies in, let's say TSMC in Taiwan, which is the semiconductor. It has been on a dream run. Samsung in Korea has been on a dream run. There are multiple companies, but these are outliers. How do we identify the next emerging one? Depends on the capacity building that we as distributors do.
So which are the markets that you are looking at beyond US?
I would say Japan and China should be something that can be targeted. Japan for its incredible capabilities in technology, second only to US, but then China for being the market leader in everything that they do.
And how do you consume knowledge on these markets?
I mean, consuming knowledge in today's world has become, really simple. We have, AI chatbots which can help you gather from various sources, translate, because, when you go to China, Japan, the default language everywhere is Japanese and Chinese. Now, we obviously cannot make sense of it, but then having those AI tools which helps you convert everything in real time, get the latest market updates, be updated with new technologies, new updates, because once you know that there is a breakthrough technology, let's say that there is a new medical drug which cures a specific disease. Now we as a distributor are a firm which specialize in pharmaceuticals. So we will know that, maybe this is the next breakthrough. So that is how you build capabilities. So that is what ultimately helps you decide and narrow down on where you want to go.
Great. Srikanth, coming back to you. So what are some common mistakes that investors make when investing globally?
So obviously, one is that Insta thing. कि जो दिखता है, that's what is happening. So and one more thing. The thing is that they think that diversification means invest. So if you see, there was a fund manager who told that they had come with a US fund. They told that US, if you are investing, it's like investing in the world, because US ka jo companies hai, they get revenue from across the world. So now when Saurav was talking in the market, he was telling that Taiwan, don't consider Taiwan, because Taiwan ka jo bhi hai, it's a Xerox of US. So you need to understand that diversification should be real diversification. So it should be a currency, it should be currency ka bhi diversification hona chahiye, geography ka bhi, even the asset play has to be diversified. Now coming to when a client comes, as I told, when the risk profiling happens, it happens on the risk appetite. Exactly that geography also, if he is planning to go 10 years hence, if he is planning to quit India and completely move to US, then it makes sense to have money in US so that gradually you can move the money to US and gift city में you can completely move there. हो जाएगा. But if you are planning to move to say Japan or to UAE, so you need to have exposure there. So that also you need to plan where the kids are going to be and where the money ultimately is to be. कि पैसा किसके लिए चाहिए. That will come. Now coming to what, adding to what Sonu said, so when you are looking at the investments, if you talk to say 5-6 years back, already evolved, knowledgeable fund managers were telling that BPO is gradually shifting to Indonesia. And we see now that BPO India में बिल्कुल खत्म हो चुका है. So when you get knowledge, the way you get knowledge is not just AI. You need to go and actually talk to people. So when you come to these kind of events, the coffee break, tea break is not to fill your tummy or give your taste buds a different flavor. It's actually go and talk to someone whom we normally don't meet. So I always tell that when you go to an event, there is a plus person and a minus person. So a plus person is having something big knowledge, minus is something who doesn't have a knowledge. Go and talk to that minus person, make him a plus person. And तुमको अगर कुछ नहीं है, there are something which you are minus, go and talk to the plus person, you become plus. So that everyone remember this Cafe Mutual event. So always talk to people. So as he said, I can't have track of laser focus. I can't track of only US, only India. I can't track entire world. So suppose Sharath is there, my friend, who is very good in US. So if anything in US, I will give a call to him. So if it is China, I will call to Sudhindra. So there is Makesh. So these kind of people are there whom I reach out to. So it's like a collaboration. I can't do everything myself. So even in a hotel, there is a team, right? So we need to have a team, build a team. If not a team, your friends here or the team. And of course, Cafe Mutual is there to give us knowledge, right? So thank you for that.
Thank you. So Vijay, coming to you. So how can Gift City actually help wealth managers distribute global products? And as an exchange, what kind of support can you extend to wealth managers?
So as an exchange, because we are a regulated entity, and we still do that, we've been doing that after the GAP circular has come out. We help create an awareness. Whoever needs any kind of support in terms of understanding what the regulations are, to our best knowledge, we do share, and we have been doing some kind of sessions also, maybe through some webinars, some closed door discussions. All of these we've been doing. We help asset managers or wealth managers, even individual retail investors, and some of the brokerages back home to understand what is the new regulation, what it entails, what really needs to be done, and what needs to be taken care of. What are the don'ts more than the do's is something that we try and emphasize on, so that people are aware of that. And as I had said in my first comment, right now it's a very well structured regulatory framework to operationalize. The onboarding is not cumbersome. The onboarding can be done quickly. So as an exchange, whoever needs any kind of support to understand how it functions, what it needs to do, I think so we are more than happy to do that. My only humble request would be, the time is right for you all also to look at global shores to expand your businesses, expand your reach. You can reach out to us for any kind of assistance and support that you need. We'll be more than happy to help you all. You can come individually, or better, as in the morning, Pradeep ji really mentioned that, if you form a team and come, it's easier for us, because then we solve all of the questions at one shot. We'll be more than happy to host you at India Annex if you want to do an visit to GIFT. So you can reach out to me. We'll organize the entire tour of GIFT, and if need be, we could also request somebody from the regulatory team to come and speak to you all if there are any questions that really needs to be answered from this. All of these things we can facilitate and help you. We'll be very happy to host you at India Annex as well, and have the entire roundtable conference done there, make you all understand each and everything. So all of these things. So my humble request is, look at it as an opportunity to really look and expand. Come set up shop at GIFT. It's a really good place to be. Do not expect overnight success there. Let me also put it very clearly. It's a very growing jurisdiction. We are only 5 years into our growth story. I would say 3 years, because 2 years of COVID I always take away. So we are only 3 years. And if you compare ourselves as IFSC and compare it to a Singapore or a Dubai, when they started 3 years back, or when first 3 years of where they started and where we are, I think so we are far, far ahead. So you need to have patience, come set up a shop, have patience, and it's a long-term story. And definitely there will be a lot of growth there.
Great. Thanks for putting this clarity. So since we have, we have less time, so I'll play a rapid fire and then wrap it up. So I'll ask Akash first. So one country outside India that every investors must have in their portfolio.
Must have, from the brain, the answer comes obviously as the US markets, because the highest market cap. But also a country that I'm watching for is Brazil. There's a lot of interesting developments coming out of there. So that's something to watch for.
Great. Yeah. So Sonu, one action point that wealth managers and MFDs can implement today to strengthen their global investing knowledge.
I would say track at least 5 stocks within the sector that you believe the next 5 years are going to be. So every day just track 5 of these stocks. It can be across geography, one particular geography, but one industry specific. So just be laser focused on that. And I think that should be great.
Vijay, one message to wealth managers who want to start distribution of global products through GIFT City.
I think so. I just gave my message in my earlier answer. Start as early as possible. Come to GIFT, set up a shop, and I think so. Think long term. It'll be beneficial in definitely in the long term. There are multiple products which are coming as an offering right now. I would say I was just talking about the global mutual funds through the INX GA, global asset managers, ETFs on India INX, as well as you also have the funds and the AIF PMS, which is already there. So all of these things are a lot more avenues. These are just tip of the iceberg that I'm talking about. We are really thinking about a lot of these things, and I think so it will be much more interesting to get on with new products, with collaboration with people like you all who are actually in the market and talking to the end investor. So we'll be very happy as an exchange, as a subsidiary of an exchange, to provide what the market wants. So more the people coming there and or sharing their thought process from the ground level, saying that, okay, this is what the end investor expects. We can definitely work together on seeing what kind of products can be got there. Yep.
Shrikant, I have saved the best for you. So if you become a finance minister for a day, so what one policy change that you would make to make global investing more attractive?
Why not Prime Minister? Okay. So I would rather be a SEBI chairman rather than a finance minister. But right now, the complexity is like a treasure hunt. You need to have a CA, you need to have a lawyer, you need to have a person who can translate each. And so even Saurav, I think, was mentioning that I think Sumit Dugal, that Nippon, he was telling that there was a product where 2 CAs were telling a different thing. So that's the biggest challenge. So why don't they make it simple, yaar? Ek single forum, ek single tax structure, okay, done and dusted. We will get you lots of money, tons of money. Thoda aaram karo na, easy karo na. We will help you. So as a finance minister, that's the first thing I would do. Thank you.
Great. So with that, we have come to an end to this interesting discussion. Thank you so much, each one of you, for giving us such thoughtful insights.